Hey, we are on to Psalm 36 today, and so we're going to dive in here in just a moment. Before we do, I just want to give you just a little bit of information about this psalm. Most people think and kind of break the entire book of Psalms down into three separate books, right? The first book goes from Psalm 1 to 41 typically. And so what we're getting into here with Psalm 36 is actually kind of the last section of book 1 of the Psalm. So that's pretty cool. So 36 to 41 is getting into kind of the last section of book 1 of the Psalms. And then 42, we move into the second book of the Psalms. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means later on. But for now, let's go ahead and dive in to Psalm 36. Transgression speaks to the wicked deep in his heart. There is no fear of God before his eyes, for he flatters himself in his own eyes, that his iniquity cannot be found out and hated. The words of his mouth are trouble and deceit. He has ceased to act wisely and do good. He plots trouble while on his bed. He sets himself in a way that is not good. He does not reject evil. Your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens. Your faithfulness to the clouds. Your righteousness is like the mountains of God. Your judgments are like the great deep. Man and beast you save, O Lord. How precious is your steadfast love, O God. The children of mankind take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your delights. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light do we see light. Oh, continue your steadfast love to those who know you, and your righteousness to the upright of heart. Let not the foot of arrogance come upon me, nor the hand of the wicked drive me away. There the evildoers lie fallen. They are thrust down, unable to rise. So with this psalm, David kind of breaks this psalm down and uses this idea of exposure. Okay, and so what we're going to see here is words of exposure. Okay, now verses 1 through 4, we're going to see here is a fear of exposure. Okay, afraid of being shown for who we truly are. Right, that's what exposure means, and that's what they are afraid of. So I'm going to read these verses again, and we'll kind of pick out just some of these specific words, and I'll kind of tell you what I'm talking about. Transgression speaks to the wicked deep in his heart. Right, deep in his heart, transgression speaks to him. There is no fear of God before his eyes, for he flatters himself in his own eyes, that his iniquity cannot be found out and hated. Right. So what he's saying here is those that are evil lie to themselves and say, well, nobody's going to find out, right? The words of his mouth are trouble and deceit, and he has ceased to act wisely and do good. He plots trouble while on his bed. He sets himself in a way that is not good. He does not reject evil. And so what we see here, like I said, is a fear of exposure. One of the things that you see and you learn, hey, I'm doing a video. Okay, we're going to do it again. One of the things that you'll see, like especially with sports, whenever I was playing, usually the guys who were the loudest, who talked the most smack, were the most or the least competent about the game, right? So the louder a guy talked, the less competent he actually was about what was going on. And you see that with a lot of different things in life. And what David is saying here, it's almost the same thing, right? We are so afraid of being exposed for who we are that we layer upon layer put stuff over top so that it can't be found out, right? Transgression speaks to the wicked deep in his heart, because if he spoke, if that was at the surface, well, then people would know, people would find out. And what we're going to see is the truth is that God has already exposed all that anyway, right? But a lot of times what we'll do is we'll try to hide our sin. We'll try to hide our failures. We'll try to hide our iniquity and say, well, if I don't let anybody know, then God doesn't know, right? Or if I keep it hidden, maybe God won't know, right? That we flatter ourselves in our own eyes, right? That our iniquity cannot be found out and hated. And that's what David is talking about here. We're going to see here in the second section of this psalm, we're actually going to see what exposes fear, right? Because we're going to see that fear here gets exposed. And what is it that exposes fear? Verse 5 tells us, your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds, your righteousness is like the mountains of God, your judgments are like the great deep. Man and beast you save, O Lord. How precious is your steadfast love, O God. The children of mankind take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your delights. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light do we see light. And so what David is telling us here is that so many people try to hide who they are. They try to hide their failures. They try to hide their sin because we're afraid of being exposed. Right? It's not that it's not even that we're upset about the sin sometimes. We're worried about somebody finding out, right? Like a child who's willing to do something bad, and they only really get upset when they get caught because they've been exposed, right? And David says that our sin and our wickedness works the same way, right? But what is it that exposes our sin? Well, it's not the wrath of God. It's not the anger of God, it's actually the love of God. And that when we allow the love of God and the light of God to shine into our lives, it begins to bring that fear to the surface. And God can then take it and take it away. And God can then take it and deal with it. God can take it and heal us and cure us of those troubles and those things that we're struggling with, right? That's what exposes our fear, is the love of God. And then we see in verses 10 through 12 here, the continuance of that love, how that love continues to go, continues to flow. Continue your steadfast love to those who know you, and your righteousness to the upright of heart. Let not the foot of the arrogance come upon me, nor the hand of the wicked drive me away. There the evildoers lie fallen. They are thrust down, unable to rise. And what we see exposed here in this entire psalm is the love of Yahweh. And David is showing us that it is our fear of being caught and our fear of being exposed in our sin that sometimes drives us away from our God, from Yahweh. But it's Yahweh chasing after us and showing us his light and showing us his life and showing us his love, his steadfast love, that then exposes our fear and allows God to move and to heal and to cure us of that. And then beyond that, his love continues to be steadfast and continues to watch out for us so that we don't fall back into those transgressions and those things that we once dealt with. So my prayer for you today is that you would open yourself up and you would allow the love of Yahweh to pour into your life and to expose your fears, to expose your sin, to expose your struggles, so that you can move on and move beyond them. God has incredible love for you today, and all you have to do is step into it. So yes, I'm done. Can you say bye, guys?
Bye, guys.
Love you.